Welcome to Volunteer for Israel's 138th episode of VFI Educates, otherwise known as Julia's Miracles. Julia's with us today, and she is our presenter today. Do have a couple of announcements, and one particularly regarding New York City. First announcement has to do with the PCR test in Israel, which apparently the intake PCR test that you would take at the airport has been waived. That'll save you about 90 shekels and probably 10 minutes. Apparently in 10 or 8 days, I guess from now, that's history. On May 22nd, a number of notables from Sarel, our sort of parent company in Israel.
That's not it. Hold on, please hold.
Okay.
I already messed it up.
All right, we have patience. So they're coming to New York. Actually, they're going to a couple of cities around the States, but on that particular day is the Israel parade in Manhattan on Madison or Fifth Avenue. And that parade, Sarel VFI has participated in every year, as it will this year. So you are invited to go to that parade in Manhattan on that day. I think the assembly time for VFI is something like 11 o'clock, but there is an email available. And if you have not received it, let Ilana or I know, and we will get you on the list. After the parade, around 5 p.m., there is a meeting of the Sarel delegation. And these are the folks who you see on the screen. The gal on the bottom, first name Karen, in the blue suit, she is the CEO of Sarel. She's the boss of Sarel now. And along with her will be the military leader of the Sarel group on the IDF, and that's that lady Major on the left bottom picture. She's the boss of all the instructors, of all the matrakot. Other folks from Israel have some pretty exalted titles. These are senior people in the government, and they're all getting together at this Southern Place Synagogue on the 51st Street at 5 o'clock, and there'll be a number of presentations, and everybody is invited, and it is free. Announcements to make?
I just want to say that we still have spots open for the VFI Plus trips coming up in October and November. So if you have an interest in VFI Plus Archaeology or VFI Plus Advanced, please let me know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ilana, take it away. Ilana, right.
You mean Julia, take it away.
I will. Okay. Hi, Richard. I see your face. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It is amazing. I think I keep saying that for the last year or more than that. It is so amazing that you keep coming back, and we still have topics to discuss. Actually, we have quite a few more topics to discuss, and well, I'm glad to have you all back. So just before I start sharing my screen and I start telling you about Sinai Desert and my, it's going to be my personal experience because I was hiking a tiny little part of the Sinai Desert during the Passover holidays, but I added a few things to it. Well, anyway, you will see it in a minute. Just before I start the presentation, Steve, did you get an email from Olga or Martin today? Yes. Okay. Good. No, you did not. Okay. So you will soon. Okay. Yeah, you talked to her. She had an issue with our son. Anyway, so I'm about to start sharing my screen. What you see right behind me are one of the happiest moments of the hike. I hope you can see all these happy people behind me. I'm there somewhere at the very top of Shumal mountain, which was the destination of the hike. And here we go, share screen. Okay, I haven't done it for about a month, so I have to make sure I still remember how to do it. Things you don't practice, you forget. Okay, do you see my screen now? It should say Sinai Desert with Julie Newman. Okay.
Got it.
So thanks. Okay, so I'm Julie Newman. I'm a tour guide in Israel, and I'm a hiker in the Sinai Desert. This is a pay-as-you-wish presentation, paypal.me/Noam Newman. And here we start. So before I start telling you about things which happened a few weeks ago, this is what happened when that was about 45 years ago. So this is when I first visited the Sinai Desert. That happened back in 1978. That's myself. Here on the left, I'm standing at the very tip of the Sinai Peninsula, which is an amazing place called Ras Muhammad. This is as far south as you can get in Sinai Desert. And this blue ocean behind me, this is the Red Sea. On your way into the Indian Ocean, this is the well, from here you can start swimming all the way to Yemen, which is across the sea here. And then it's me standing by a camel. This is the first time I saw such a creature. That was very amazing. And Sinai was a love at first sight. And the other personal connection, very personal connection I have with Sinai Desert is similar to yours because, or at least, you know, every Jew. This is where we went, as you all know, after leaving Egypt, after Moses told the Pharaoh, let my people go. And it took a while, but eventually Pharaoh let the people of Israel leave Egypt and go into the Sinai Desert and then further into the Promised Land. So that's something we celebrate every single Passover. But for me, most of you already know that I have my Russian origins, and I was born in Moscow, and my parents asked for permission to leave Soviet Union when I was 2 years old. And then it took them 5 years before they were actually, you know, before the Russian government let them go. And for 5 years, they were unemployed refuseniks. And Golda Meir, whose face you can see on this very old banknote of 10,000 shekels, not new Israeli shekels, the old Israeli shekels. Anyway, this is Golda Meir, and she was the prime minister when this first attempt of making the Soviet Union government to let my people go was made. And this is what you see on the other side of the banknote. It says, Shelach et ami, let my people go. And this is something I literally grew with. And finally, we were able to make Aliyah when I was 7 years old. And then a year later, we drove to Sinai, and you saw me on the previous slide. So the bottom line is that I'm very deeply and personally connected to the Sinai Desert. So I always the quote from because you can see the Suez Canal down below. Okay, here this is the Suez Gulf, and then down at the very bottom, this is where Sharm el-Sheikh is, and then this is the Red Sea, and then you get all the way to Eilat, while at the upper side, on the northern side of the Sinai Desert, this is where the Mediterranean Sea is, and this is where Israel is located. So we will be hiking together in this southern, darker part of the Sinai Desert. You can see there's a big difference in colors. I hope you can see it over Zoom, but the northern part, like a little bit more than a half of it, is more pale, like more brownish, and that's because of the different soils and different rocks. And it's much lower. So if you are into hiking in the mountains, and this is the most beautiful part, you will go south, and you can see that the southern part is darker because it's rocky granite desert, and this is where we are heading. And this is where the people of Israel came after the Pharaoh finally let them go. So in the book of Exodus, we read on the first day of the third month after the Israelites left Egypt on that very day, they came to the desert of Sinai. They entered the desert of Sinai, and Israel camped there in the desert in front of the mountain. A very well-known word. It doesn't mention Mount Sinai, but we have the desert of Sinai, and then we have the mountain. And so later the tradition called this specific mountain Mount of Sinai, even though this term is not truly biblical. So we are on our way from Eilat. This is where you have to cross the border, okay, up here. We will be driving along the Red Sea, the Gulf of Eilat, all the way south, and then we will take west towards Jabal Musa. You can see this yellow star. Jabal Musa is the major destination of the southern part of Sinai, and Jabal Musa is traditionally believed to be Mount Sinai. So we will spend the night down there, and then we will start hiking on our way to Jabal Shumar, which is a bit south. You can see this red star. And the hike will be for 6 days in a row in this very bare desert. So yes, before we start hiking, just a bit of history. I believe quite a few of you will remember this photo or a similar photo, November 19th, 1977. This is when Anwar Sadat landed in Ben Gurion Airport. We're talking about, again, 1977, and that's 4 years after Yom Kippur War. That's so close. People, well, reactions were different, and we will not get into this part of our history. I just want to say that back then I was still very young. I was in an absorption center in Tel Aviv. I was playing in the playground, and at some point I noticed that there's nobody down the street, like nobody around. People were gone, and I didn't understand what's going on. What's going on? You know, it felt like something really major happened. So I started walking back home, back to the absorption center, and on the way there was like a little cafe, and the TV was on, and I saw like everybody was totally quiet. And if you ever been to Israel, you know how unusual it is for Israelis to be like totally silent. It doesn't happen. And there were so many people sitting down in this cafe, and they were all glued to a TV, a black and white TV, and that's what they were watching. I had no idea what's going on, and then I went home, and my parents explained that the president of Egypt came over. None of us actually understood what's so special about it, but we had other words. So that's how I remember this day. And then it took another 6 months or so, and then the peace accord was signed in the United States on the grass lawn of the White House, and ever since we have peace accords with Egypt. And a few years later, some more very famous, still famous, very, very moving and still painful photos. It might look like a disengagement from Gaza, but this is a disengagement from Sinai. This is the evacuation of Yamit, one of the Israeli towns in the northern part of Sinai Desert. And by the end of 1982, we completely withdrew our forces from Sinai, and ever since, if you want to visit Sinai, as an Israeli, of course, you can do that, no problem. You stamp your passport, you go there. If you want to go to Egypt or the west part of Sinai, so you have to have a visa, but that's it. But Sinai, we choose to be Egyptian, became Israeli, and became Egyptian again, is Egyptian. And that's what it looks like today. This is a photo. Can you see this line of people, like really long and pretty dense line of people. All these people are waiting in a line in order to stamp their passport and cross the border into Sinai in a lot. This is the so-called Taba checkpoint. So, you know, it depends on the how we feel about the security in Egypt, and well, forget COVID, of course. But it can take anything between an hour to 6 hours just waiting in the line. Can you imagine 6 hours waiting in the line, especially in a lot where it's so hot? When we crossed the border, we were lucky. It took only about an hour and a half. But friends of ours who went to the same line to go to Sinai for Yom Ha'atzmaut, for the Independence Day, it took them 11 hours. 11 hours waiting in the line, which is totally insane, but that's another problem. But eventually you do the Exodus, you know, the other way around, and then you see this sign, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Bon Voyage, goodbye Israel, and welcome to Sinai, and welcome to freedom, because in Israel, for so many people, especially young people, I must admit, but even not so young like myself, Sinai is totally associated with freedom, because as soon as you cross the border, you have that amazing feeling of everything is possible. Everything is allowed. Everything is open for you. I mean, it's not truly this way, but that's what you feel. So the moment you cross the border into Sinai, people get happy. I mean, that's how it is. And then you find these minibuses with Bedouins who will take your luggage and tie it up there on the roof. And then you start driving, and the roads are actually pretty good. And then you can tell them wherever you want to go, and they will take you there. And again, it's like, you know, it's like magic. The moment you see the minibus, you already feel like, oh, I'm free. So we are on our way, as I told you, to what is believed to be Mount Sinai. The Arabic name of the mountain is Jabal Musa. Musa is Moshe, Moses in Arabic. Jabal is the Arab word for a mountain. Interestingly, we have no Jewish tradition regarding where Mount Sinai is. I mean, if you think about it, we Jews, you know, Orthodox Jews, we're not necessarily looking for locations. The only location which is sacred and really the tradition observes this for thousands of years is the Temple Mount. The others, oh yes, and Hebron, the tomb of the patriarchs. But other than that, we don't have it. Even Mount Nebo, we have a Christian tradition regarding where it is, but not a Jewish one. We don't have a Jewish tradition regarding Mount Sinai. We have a Christian tradition. And very interestingly, during the last few years, we have a Jewish, it's not a movement, but a group of Orthodox Jews who adopted Mount Sinai tradition. They adopted Jabal Musa, and they tried to start sort of a Jewish pilgrimage to Jabal Musa, which never existed. We always had Christian one. So I don't know if that will work. And we already have rabbis who are totally against it. I mean, we already have rabbis who said that Mount Sinai is not Jabal Musa, and you should not look for Mount Sinai because it is a sacred and an unknown place, and don't follow Christians. Right at the footsteps of this maybe Mount Sinai, let's keep it the name Jabal Musa, the mountain of Moses. We have one of the most amazing and one of the most ancient Greek Orthodox monasteries in the world, known as Santa Catrine Monastery. This place hosts one of the most significant, one of the oldest existing libraries of ancient manuscripts from the Byzantine period. It is home for a Christian community of monks who are the descendants of the first monks who settled down there at the footsteps of the mountain some 17 centuries ago, and they keep preserving and defending this location, which is sacred for them because, according to them, okay, they're not just at the footsteps of Mount Sinai, but they're also right where the burning bush was seen by Moses, and you know, this, according to them, this is where Moses heard the voice of God. So I would like to share a short video with you so you will get a little bit of sense of the drive. Okay. So that was the drive. The actual drive takes about 2.5 hours, just like the traffic jam today. Okay, we made it in about 2 minutes, and within the 2 minutes, we even entered the premises of the monastery. And what you see in front of you here is believed to be the burning bush. Okay, I'm not saying that this is it. Okay, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is that it is believed that this is the one, or at least, you know, some will compromise. Okay, it's not this one, but this is the descendant, you know, of this one. And this is definitely the location, that this is the same type of a plant. And so this is definitely a very, very holy and special location for the Christians. Okay, so that's the holy bramble, of course, which is believed to be the burning bush. And after visiting the monastery and taking a photo, at least a photo of the holy bramble, so then you are supposed to start climbing. You can see the staircase here on the left. You're supposed to start climbing uphill. It's quite difficult, you know. It will take you, normally people will do it at night, because the tradition is to see the sunrise from Mount Sinai. We do the same on Masada. I don't know if any of you ever done it, but you know that quite a few people would. But Masada will take you, well, anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour to get to the top, while Mount Sinai, that will take you the whole night. So you hike and hike and hike some more, and eventually you get to the highest peak in Sinai, and then you watch the sunrise, and then, you know, it's a once in a lifetime experience. And on your way back, on your way downhill, that's what the monastery will look like, okay, from a bird's view. Okay, another very famous, much less visited location, but another very famous location is it's next to the Suez Gulf, and it's called Sarabit El Hadem. without getting too deep into it, this is where a temple dedicated to an Egyptian goddess, Catrine, and this is the lady you see here on the right. She, her representation is a cow, so she has this horns. Okay. Anyway, this is the temple dedicated to Catrine. We have a similar temple in Timna near Eilat. And this is where the most ancient proto-Sinaic inscriptions were found. These weird inscriptions you can see in black up here, this is believed to be the earliest example of pre-Hebrew letters. Okay, so this is from, well, you know, different scholars, different that, but we're looking at almost 4,000 years ago. So this is the first attempt to write Hebrew. It's not yet Hebrew, it's Proto-Sinaic, but this is where it all started. So for most people, Sinai is something we call in Hebrew beten gav. Beten is a belly and gav is a back. So if somebody tells you that he's going to do beten gav, it means that, you know, he will be moving from, he will get a suntan of his belly, and then he will turn to his belly to get some suntan to the back. Basically, it means doing nothing. So when you cross the border, you drive down south, you see this beautiful, tiny little island with a restored Crusader castle on it. And then you get to the beach and you have something to drink, and then you do nothing. This is a very typical Sinai Zula, that's what it's called. Again, another wonderful place to do nothing. If you want to be more fancy, so you will go to one of the so many fancy hotels located all along the beach, and primarily in Sharm el-Sheikh down south. And you can go riding a camel by the beautiful blue Gulf, and then some nice sand. And again, you do nothing. Oh yes, you eat, and of course you go snorkeling and scuba diving, and you'll see some corals. And basically Sinai is do as little as possible and have a good time. That's for most people, but we wanted a challenge, and therefore that's what we did. We went to an Shumar trek. Trek is a hike. And Shumar is the name of the mountain, the peak, which was the peak of the Torah, but it's also the name of the region, which is south of Mount Sinai. So for the hike, we needed 24 people, 2 Israeli tour guides, and 1 Dalil. Dalil is a local guide. Dalil literally means somebody who will show you the way. Okay, it's not somebody who will explain things. He knows the way, which is the most crucial in the desert. And we also had 8 Bedouins who will cook and load the camels and unload the camels and walk the camels and do the rest. And 6 camels, of course. And we spent the 6 days in the desert, and we were camping. And camping is called the 1 Million Stars Hotel. So, you know, the best hotel you ever saw, like Bereshit, is 5 stars, which is nothing to comparing to the stars in the desert. So we spent the night in a camp in the village called Santa Catarina next to Mount Sinai. That's how we were getting ready for the hike. You see just a little bit of massage. You can see that here on the right, we have a chair, okay? And this is the last chair we're gonna see for the next 6 days. So that's goodbye to comfort. I mean, you don't even imagine how comfortable it is to sit on a chair, okay? It's amazing. And this is the last chair. By the way, the gentleman right here wearing black shirt, he's a professor of geology, and I hope he will make a presentation for us next month. All right, hopefully he's very busy right now getting some new equipment and fixing his home, but hopefully next month he will be available. Professor Oded, he's a professor in Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And among other, means of comfort, this is the last signal. This is the last time in 6 days when we have connection to whoever is not part of the hike. So you can see how excited we all in. We all have our cell phones, including myself. That's me here with the blue T-shirt, saying hi, goodbye to kids, parents, whoever. Okay, last signal. That's it. And here we go. This is where we want to be, surrounded by rocks and cliffs. The air was really not clear. It was full of dust for the entire 6 days of hike. So we did not see as far as we would normally be able to see. So, but that limited visibility made it even more special, I would say, because all you could see are the rocks surrounding you. It looks like a sea, like an ocean of rocks and cliffs, and all you have are the other members of the hike and the camels. Okay, that's it. That's your universe, basically. So in the beginning of the hike, you see this is our one of the two Israeli guides we had. Her name is Michal, and Michal is trying to teach one of the Bedouins how to use a map. Okay, that was very funny because the Bedouins know the way so well. I mean, they know the desert, they feel the desert, they know their ways, but they have no idea how to use a map. Maybe just because they don't need a map. So it was quite funny. Her, she was trying to explain what is it and why is it actually so good. And he really tried to understand, but on the other hand, it was so clear that it's useless. It is a piece of paper. I know where I'm going. So anyway, it was, the contradiction between the, the locals, the real people of the desert, and tour guides who hike in the desert, but they will never be Bedouins. Nobody can be a Bedouin. So here we are walking into the wild red mountains with no signal, as I told you. For the first 2 days, it was difficult. We are so, we are basically addicted to our cell phones. We are addicted to Google. We are addicted to our we can find information, we can talk to people at every given moment. And for the first 2 days, it was difficult. You have a question, there's no Google. You want to tell somebody something, you can't unless he's here. So it took us 2 days to adjust, but after 2 days, we became adjusted. It was actually good, that limited amount of information we got. And that's what our lunch and breakfast and dinner would look like. As I told you, no chairs, simple dishes, very simple food, basically pitas and salad and tahini and feta cheese, which is very fat, very salty, so you can carry it basically forever. And that was sufficient, It was so weird. We are so much used to fridge and meals and different spices. And, well, you don't need it. You can live with so much less. I told you that we had a company of 6 camels. This is one of the camels. You see that it's really nicely decorated. I mean, the Bedouins, they take very good care of camels. They really, it's their way to make an income, but they're also, I don't know, they're like almost a family. And actually the camels were better dressed comparing to the Bedouins. I mean, if a Bedouin has an extra money, so he will buy an extra dress for the camel, not for himself. So this is one of our camels. Well, here on the right, this is the other type of the camel, the double-humped camel. which is the northern one from Mongolia and China and Uzbekistan. So this camel, this is just a beautiful camel. This photo was taken by a friend of mine who was in Uzbekistan lately. So you can tell the difference between the two camels. The one on the right is much bigger, much heavier, and has much more wool because they live in cold deserts, comparing to the one-hump camels, which live in hot deserts. So another example, you see, this is the second guide we have on the right guy. This is his father, who is 75 years old, and it was so amazing to see this guy hiking with us, you know, just like everybody else. And he's 75 years old. That was very impressive. I mean, something to look forward to. And they both expect a camel. Now here, you see, this is the hump, and it hardly has any hump. Actually, these camels are very well fed, they're very well watered, and they're working. So they don't have this hump. You know, it's strange because most camels, if you ever been to Israel or Morocco or, you know, the Mediterranean area, so they normally have much bigger humps, but that's because they're not working. So these guys, they are the best fit camels. This is our camp. This is me in the tent. Okay, this is how we spend our nights. Actually, it's quite comfortable because you can take a tent, you can take mattresses, and even linen on the camels. They would carry everything. So in the end of the day, all you have to do is open your tent and wait for the Bedouins to prepare your supper. Quite comfortable. Okay, this is morning of day one. This is the second oldest person on the tour. This is Ami, and he is 74 years old. He and his wife live in Chatzeva in the kibbutz down south on the Arava Valley, and he was in charge of the coffee. So every stop we had, he will make some real strong Arabic coffee. We will all have a share, and that will add some energy. So I have to mention Ami here. That's us ready to go, me and my husband. And this is one of the Bedouins ready to load the camel. That was a lot of work. And, you know, they really cared. I told you they really cared about the camels. So every stop, like we will, the camels will stay with us overnight. They will forage around and eat. And then in the morning, the Bedouins will take our stuff and load the camels. And the camels will go a different way. I mean, we will take the nice walking path, and the camels will go sort of around on a more convenient path. And the camels walk faster than us, and the Bedouins walk much faster than us. And so they will be meeting us for lunch, and then they will unload the entire luggage from the camels, so the camels can rest. And then they will prepare lunch for us, and then they will reload the camels and keep walking. I mean, that's a lot of work. That's Michal and Jabali. Jabali is our Dalil. He was born and he lives in Santa Catrine, the village next to Mount Sinai. Jabal means a mountain, and his name is Jabali. So it's like Harari in Hebrew. It's the mountain one, and that name fits him so well. He speaks Arabic and Hebrew and English, and so he is just a great guy and a great guide. So it wouldn't happen without him. And here we walk and we camp. And here we get a special treat. This is our cook. Okay, one of the Bedouins was actually in charge of cooking, so he will tell the others what to do. And usually they will just make thin pitas for us, but that's the one day before the last one. So they prepared a libe. This is what he has. It's similar to pita, but it's very thick. It's a very heavy bread, and it's cooked in. They make a pit in the ground, and they will make fire. And when they have enough charcoal, so they will put the charcoal into the pit, and then they will put the ready-made dough into the very hot ground, which covers the charcoal, and that's how it's cooked. So you basically get a thick pita with a little bit of sand and a little bit of ashes and a little bit of, little stones, nothing special. So all you have to do is just clean it a little bit, and it's delicious. I mean, when you live in the desert, so libe is a real treat. Here I have some photos of the vegetation, just to prove that the desert is not totally deserted. There are flowers there. Well, you saw the camels, but there is more to it. And more flowers. And we even saw the Sinai agama, which is a very special lizard. This is a male. You see the male during the mating season, it gets the blue head. And then we hiked some more, and we got to another monastery, the El Arba'in monastery, the 40 monks. And there was even a pool. I mean, not inside the monastery, but in one of the orchards, which is right next to the monastery. It is a active orchard with a Bedouin who lives there and maintains this man-made pool, which gets the water from a nearby spring. And again, you have to hike in the desert in order to understand how amazing it is to find a pool in the desert. I mean, this is a real oasis. So we took a bath here, and as we hiked, we saw, I don't know if you can see it very well here. I mean, this is a very bare, rocky desert, and down here there are some pipes. I don't know if you can see the pipes, even though I have this blue arrow here. But if you don't really see the pipes, here you can see more pipes. And no matter where you hike in the big dry riverbed, you will see plenty of pipes. And all these pipes get the water from tiny little springs, which are known to the Bedouins. And all these pipes will bring the water into these beautiful, colorful fields of poppy flowers, but these are specially treated and specially cultivated opium flowers. And this is the major source of income for the Bedouins. Can you imagine this rocky desert as the one you see behind me, as the one you saw on the previous slides, and then all of a sudden you see this beautiful, amazing, unbelievable. It's like a mirage. I mean, the first time I saw it, it was like, am I dreaming? But we have these beautiful opium fields all over the Sinai Desert. This guy is one of the guards of the opium fields we saw. You can see him smoking a cigarette, not a pure cigarette, cigarette plus. He is a Bedouin, but he used to work in a lot when Sinai was part of Israel, so he spoke pretty good Hebrew. And he explained us all about how do you get the opium from the flowers. So what you need to do is to take the bulbs after the flower is gone, so you have the bulb, and then you scratch it, and then you have something which looks like a toothpaste, okay, but brownish and more disgusting. And that toothpaste is the raw opium. And then you take a little box or whatever it is, and you simply collect this paste into the box. So it's a very, very primitive process, but that will bring you a fortune. So this box, little box you see in his hand here, has a handful of opium paste, and that's thousands of dollars. Okay. And this is the same box. You can see it closer. And that's what this opium bulb looks like. You see these little brownish seeds? When they ripe, they become black, and these are the poppy seeds that we know. But when they're ripe, so everything is too dry, you cannot get the paste out of it. So you have to catch the moment when the flower is gone, but the bulb is not yet dry. I mean, you have to know how you do it. And then you collect the opium, and then you take a camel, and then the camel will walk for several days to the nearby truck, and then the truck will take the box and drive it to Cairo, and then it will be sold for a lot of money. So we enjoyed some opium education and the most beautiful flowers and fields. That's me. That was a dream come true. I saw the opium fields for the first time about 30 years ago when I first hiked in the region, and I could never forget it. So I was so happy to be back. And again, it's just a lunch break. After 4 days, we had much less food with us, obviously, because we ate most of it. So now if you were very tired, so you could sit on a camel, and this is the son of the tour guide. So he decided that enough is enough. So he joined his backpack and rode the camel. The first 4 days, you could not ride a camel because they were fully loaded. I mean, a camel can take up to 200 kilograms of weight. And we had, it's just, you know, it was full. It was, yeah, fully loaded. But after 4 days, you could put a kid on the camel, and that's what we did. And the others kept hiking among the palm trees and springs and the opium fields. In the end of the day, we would do some, some group therapy, some exercises, and some private procedures as well. You can see that even the local tour guide, that's his back. This is Jabali, and he helps Omer, stretch his legs a little bit. We all became very good friends. And that's the peak of the hike. This is the, was either the third or that was the third day of the hike, when we actually ascended to the peak of Jabal Shumar, which is about 8,500 feet high, second highest after Jabal Musa. So we woke up at 3 a.m. And we watched sunrise just before we started hiking, and then we hiked and hiked and hiked more. So the hike started at 4 a.m. and we were back at the same camp by the tent at 5:30. So that was the longest day, hiking from 4 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. That was a difficult one, and that was the only hike which the older gentleman did not join us. They did the rest of it. So we are hiking and hiking and hiking some more. And yeah, okay. One of these happy moments, we are at the top. This is Tammy. She was exhausted on the way, but she was okay. She made it all the way to the top. And we are at the summit. This is my husband. This is Ido. He is very happy, very exhausted. And this is one of the Bedouin guides who, it was not enough for him just to get to the top, but he needed a tiny little cliff for himself overlooking. Well, again, the air was not clear enough, so we did not really see the Suez Gulf, but normally you would see the Gulf of Suez from here, so we used our imagination. And this is Omer. He is a professional dancer. So when we got to the top, he made a tiny little, improvisation. Why? 。  . 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . Okay, and well, the last part of this really exciting hike to the top was this box. The reason, old tradition, which started back in 1979. Okay, that's pretty long ago. To leave notes with, whatever wishes or memories or, just thoughts. So we have these old boxes hidden on top among the rocks on top of the mountain, and people just leave a note like, thank you, God, for letting me be here, and just the name, or, I wish peace and love, something like that. So this is one of the notes, and we left a note on behalf of our group as well. And another amazing thing, when you live in the desert, when you are surrounded by rocks, before monotheism, I mean, when people still worship, stars and water and trees. So what you have around you in the desert are rocks. And so the Bedouins in the ancient times, before they became Muslim, and even after they became Muslim, they worshipped something which is called the dikes. Dikes are this, you see, there's like a black strip surrounded by reddish rocks, and there is another dark strip right here behind Omer. It happens when the magma penetrates into a crack in the granite rock, and we have dikes, different dikes of different chemical compounds all around the globe. So this, the one on the left, I think it's from the Canary Islands, and this one, the second from the right, this is from Makhtesh Ramon, the Ramon crater, and the one on the right is from Sinai. But anyway, you see that they're different from their surroundings, and different color, different formation. Sometimes they will be inside the rock, sometimes they will come out from the rock if they're harder than the surrounding rock. But anyway, they are special. And so the Bedouins, until quite recently, they would worship the dikes, and they would treat them as gods, or as the way God expresses himself or herself. So I don't know, I found it quite interesting that when you live in the rocky desert, so you basically worship natural rocks. Last night in the Million Stars Hotel, and then we say goodbye to our amazing staff, all these Bedouins. This guy here on the, he is a kid, he is 11 years old, and he just, he decided that instead of going to school, it's better to hike. And the day before the end of the hike, we could see that he's like, he was a little bit sad. It was like, where's my mom? So kids are kids. So we said goodbye, and now they got on the camels, now much less loaded, of course, and they rode back home for 2 days in a row. Okay, so 2 more days hiking, riding camels and camping for the night, and within 2 days they will be back. So whatever took us 6 days will take them 2 days only. And we got in a Jeep. That's the first car we saw in the end of the hike. It was like, oh wow, it is real. So one of them is more modern, the other one is less so. You can see that the steering wheel has some Scotch tape to it. This is the best way to fix your steering wheel if you have an ancient Jeep in the middle of the desert, no security tests or silly stuff like that. And they drove us to the sea to see some mangroves in a place called Nabek. And then we made it to Dahab. Now, when you come from Israel, Dahab is a little dirty town, but when you come from the desert, Dahab is the big city. It's like the center of civilization. You can see how happy these people are, all of them. We hiked together, and in Dahab you can find these little things which you sort of miss, when you are in the desert. So we had a milkshake and we had a crepe with fresh bananas. I mean, we did have some fruits during the hike, but they were far from being fresh by the end of the hike. And, a chair and a shower and a bed and a room with a door, all these little things you never think about, and then you get to appreciate them. And then the last day we just went to the beach, to a beautiful place, the best place for diving and snorkeling. It's called the Blue Hole. Now this is an aerial photo, so you can see why it is called a blue hole. It's actually a very deep hole surrounded by the coral reef. So when you get into the water, and then you can swim or dive, of course, up here around the edges of the coral reef. It's a very, very beautiful. If you consider going to Sinai Desert, so please make sure that you make it to the Blue Hole. And that's it. Thank you for joining me, and I will be back soon for sure. And you are welcome to join me. It is truly amazing, and thank you for your support and donations. Okay. That's it. You could hear that I was very excited. I hope I made you excited just a little bit, just a fraction of what I feel about the whole event. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that amazing journey that we probably never will see in our lifetime, but now we have a handle on it. I heard that you had bought a baby camel. Is that true?
No, that's unfortunately, no, it's forbidden. I couldn't even bring the lizard and not a camel. And then I have cats and I have, chicken. No. The camel stayed in Sinai. But I'm going back next month, so I hope to see just a few of them. But next month, we will take a plane. We are flying to Sharm el-Sheikh, which is the area down south next to Ras Muhammad, and we will spend 4 nights in a nice hotel. No more hiking because it's too hot. So I will have a totally different experience of Sinai.
Yeah.
So
was there any particularly scary part to it? Were there
no
scorpions or something to bother you at night?
No, nothing bothered me. I mean, it was all good. I did not see even one scorpion. I'm sure there were scorpions. I mean, but we did not have this ultraviolet light with us, so we did not see them. And then we were so tired in the end of the day, so it was like dinner at like around sunset. So let's say 8 p.m. we were done. 8 p.m. we were in the sleeping bag, having our good night's sleep, and then we will wake up with sunrise, which is 5:30 a.m. Which is actually the best way, the most biologically correct way. You go to sleep when it gets dark and you don't see that much, and you wake up when it gets when you can see things.
With the dust in the air, could you see the stars clearly at night?
Well, we saw them not as beautiful as we would see them otherwise, but it was good enough. I mean, It got a bit better. The last 2 nights were better, so we could see more stars. But I mean, it was not as beautiful as it is normally, but it's so much more beautiful comparing to the city.
Yeah.
So since we live in cities, or even myself, I live in a small farming community, but yeah, we have lights. We have lights from the houses on the streets, and so the 1 Million Stars Hotel was wonderful.
No.
So I suggest a VFI plus extension to Sinai.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, that's exactly what I just. Okay, let's see. Okay, Gail wrote that you have been to Egypt, to Sharm el-Sheikh. Okay, and took a car to St. Catherine, right? And climbed Mount Sinai. Wow. Okay, and sunrise. Okay, that's exactly what I was talking about.
It was hot, and a camel who was supplying the coffee shop at the top came by and said, "Oh, madame, would you like to ride on the camel?" I looked at that tall camel and saw the steep road going up, and I said, "No, thank you." Too scary. I'd rather be on the ground.
Wow. Apollo wrote that back in 1968, they stayed at St. Catherine's Monastery. Wow, inside the monastery. Well, you don't do that now. Ilana wrote, please consider making a donation. Yes, thank you. Please consider that. And I presume that the opium operation is illegal. Yes, of course. Why doesn't the Egyptian government close it? Oh, that's a good question. Well, first of all, of course, it is illegal. Drugs are illegal. Opium is illegal. And a few years ago, the Egyptian government was actually trying to eliminate the thing. It's very difficult to do because you don't see, you literally, you don't see the opium fields before you step on them. The Bedouins, they know how to hide it. So first of all, it's you have to hike in the desert, making sure that hoping that you will find the field, and then it's a long hike. Even if you take a camel, first of all, no Bedouin will ever help you. I mean, no Bedouin tour guide, no Dalil will ever lead such a delegation. But suppose you will find a Bedouin, so then you have to ride a camel for a few days in a row. These are not paths which are suitable for cars or jeeps or whatever. So you have to be very, very determined. And apparently the Egyptians were not that much into it. At some point, they were trying to use airplanes. So they would fly, small light airplanes. They would fly over Sinai looking for the fields, and then they would use what do you call it? Chemicals which will kill plants. What are they called? Pesticides. Thank you. Okay, so they were using pesticides from the air. So for a while, they did kill some of the opium fields, and the other were too well hidden, so they did not. And at some point, they just gave up. So there is a rumor that some Egyptian government officials are involved in the opium trade, and they actually make money out of it. It is a rumor. I'm not saying it's true, but I don't know why they do nothing about it, but the fact is that they do nothing whatsoever about it. And I was told that when Sinai was Israeli, they had same opium fields, and Israeli government did nothing about it as well. So I don't know. It's sort of a well-known secret, which is not a secret. Everybody behaves as if, and we have the beautiful opium fields. Okay. Is there any? The blue hole isn't where they are. Red Sea diving school. I don't know about the Red Sea diving school. Maybe there is one. I'm not sure. Yeah, the blue hole is just a bit north of Dahab.
She may be referring to the movie and the speech that we had from that lady having to do with the Mossad.
Maybe. Okay. No. It's not the same blue hole because the movie and the lady, if this is what we're talking about, was in Sudan, while this blue hole is in Sinai, which is part of Egypt. Alvin, you remember snorkeling at the Coral Island. Yeah, right. How healthy are the coral reefs? Well, they're not very healthy. There is a bit of whitening of the corals, but just a little bit. The main problem of the coral reefs is just the fact that there's so many people around there. And even though you're supposed to be careful and not touch the corals and not step on the corals and not break the corals and, neither. But not everybody is as careful as they should be. And so the coral reefs are damaged and there are less fish comparing to what they used to be. And the corals are less colorful also because there's more pollution. You have I don't know if hundreds, but dozens of huge hotels and they have lots of sewage water and fresh water running into the sea. So the coral reefs are not what they used to be 40 years ago, as I remember them, but they're still pretty. I mean, similar to what I said about the stars, the stars were not as beautiful as they should be. And the coral reef is not as beautiful as it used to be. But if you don't remember what it was back then, so the coral reef is amazing. I mean, it is still beautiful and amazing. Okay, what else? Archaeologist. Wow. Thank you. Okay, guys, if any further questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself. And thank you for now. Thank you for joining me. Oh yes, and I did not mention next time we meet, which is in 2 weeks from now. Yes, 2 weeks, that we switch from once a week to once in 2 weeks.
Well, Julia, I just want to interrupt you. It's not first, next week will be another schmooze. Then the program Julia's about to talk about. There's no break.
Sorry. Okay. So next week it's going to be schmooze. And in 2 weeks, there will be a virtual tour. And we will be going, here we are down south in the Sinai Desert, and in 2 weeks from now, we will be up north in the Golans. So we will start exploring the Golan Heights from the very top. We'll start from Mount Hermon, which is right on the Syrian border, the highest mountain in Israel. And then we will, slowly move towards the south. The Golan Heights are way too big. Well, maybe not too big, but too diverse. There's too much to see for one tour. So we will do the northern part, and then sometimes later we will do the other parts. So thank you again for joining me today. Yes. Great.
Well, let me just review for those folks who might not be fully in contact. We're in season 4 of BFI Educates, and every other week will be a live physical presentation like today's with Julia and other people. On the alternate week, we have the schmooze sessions. They all start at 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoons Eastern time. And most importantly, the Zoom code that you have that you use to get into this presentation will be good for the rest of the Zooms in season 4. And just to review that code, it's tinyurl.com/VFI educates 4, number 4. So that'll get you into this session every Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If anybody has any questions about the Volunteers for Israel program, we're here to answer that. We will shortly enter into a schmooze session, which will last for hours, as it usually does. And meanwhile, since it's around 10 o'clock at night in Israel, Julie will go to bed. But
yeah, especially after driving for so long today. I mean,
right.
I didn't do that much touring. I did so much driving, though. By the way, I just before I go to sleep, I see that I missed Geoffrey's. It's not so much a question regarding an American archaeologist who claims that he found the true Red Sea crossing near Nueva. So we have different, we have different ideas about where the actual Red Sea was, the Red Sea or the Reed Sea. And we have different understandings regarding that. One of them is truly near Nueva, which is about mid Sinai Desert. And we have other suggestions that the Reed Sea was actually further north, because if they left, well, not Cairo, okay, but the surroundings of Cairo in Egypt, they immediately crossed the Red Sea. And if you look at the map, there's no way you get from Egypt to the Red Sea without crossing the Sinai Desert. And that means that what we call the Red Sea today, which is the Gulf of Aqaba or the Gulf of Eilat, is not the Red Sea referred to in the Bible. So the biblical Red Sea must be on the west side of Sinai. It must be much closer to Egypt. And so, yes, exactly. So there is a suggestion. We have geological and archaeological evidences that back then there used to be another, well, maybe not the river, maybe more like a wetland, but a huge wetland, which was approximately where the Suez Canal is today. And so it seems like the people of Israel crossed this Reed Sea or wetland from Egypt into Sinai. And so this is the true Red Sea, more or less where the Suez Canal of today is.
Where the Bitter Lake was, where the Bitter Lakes are, maybe.
Maybe where the Bitter Lakes are, but we do know that the Suez Canal was made where it was made because there was already sort of geological advantage to this location, because there used to be some sort of a dry riverbed. There was some sort of a creek. Okay, so maybe that's the Red Sea. But we don't know. We have all sorts of ideas regarding the route that people of Israel took and how come they spent the 40 years in the desert and then eventually they entered the promised land coming from Jordan. I mean, that means that they somehow crossed the Sinai Desert and the Negev Desert and made it into Jordan and came back. I mean, we have different theories. The Samaritans will tell you something, and the Orthodox, and but definitely the present day Red Sea is not the biblical Red Sea. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you all, and I hope to see you. I'm not sure I will be able to join the schmooze because I will be guiding, real-time guiding. I'll see what time I'll get home depending on the traffic. But 2 weeks from now, you are welcome to join me at the Hermon Mountain and then getting down south.
Thank you very much.
Great show, Julia. Thank you. Very interesting.
Thank
think
you
we-
all.
I think-
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you. I think we all learned something we would otherwise have no idea.
Well, hiking is great. Bottom line.
That's great. All right.
Okay, Pamela, thank you. Alvin, hope to see you in Tel Aviv. And I hope to see as many of you as possible during BFI Advanced and BFI Archaeology.
Mhm. Great.
See
Okay.
you. See you.
Laila
Bye.
Tov. Laila Tov.
Keep in touch. Laila Tov. Good Shabbos. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Well, at this point, we are formally entering into our schmooze mode. And all topics are on the table, and everybody can unmute. And we'll be schmoozing for as long as you folks want to schmooze.
I'm looking for Alvin